Good evening, everyone. Today, I hope you are all well. Let's continue our story, The Twin Bandits Part 7. Enjoy listening, and here we are. The nickname. Because banks closed earlier than tabs, Peter knew that he risked being seen before the sun went down. This meant it was imperative that he get into the bush faster than usual. He decided to steal a motorbike to do so. One of Peter's rules was to only steal from businesses, not individuals, so he went to a used car lot, asked to test drive a Honda 500 cubic centimeters motorcycle, and zoomed away without paying for it. The next day, March 7, 1978, Peter rode the stolen motorbike to the State Savings Bank in Mirbeau North, a tranquil farming town. He ran inside armed with a shotgun and ordered the manager to fill up a bag with money. He then escaped to a nearby pine forest, stashed the bike, and set off on foot. When he stopped to rest, he rifled through his bag of money and found a brand new .25 caliber Browning pistol inside. It belonged to the bank. A staff member must have tossed it inside for some reason during the robbery. The take was a hefty $15,098, and Peter planned to spend his share. While Doug sometimes used his portion of the loot to purchase sports cars, Peter preferred ski boats, motorbikes, and guns. Like their father before them, both men enjoyed betting on horses and greyhounds. Peter used this as a way to launder his money. He'd place a bet with stolen cash at one window, then claim his winnings at another, receiving clean bills in return. Since the races didn't always go his way, he figures that the method amounted to about a 20% processing fee. Peter also took up horse trading. He bought horses at country markets, transported them to his property, and sold some to recreational riders while keeping others for himself. It was an ideal cover for the robberies, justifying his frequent travel and surplus cash, and providing an explanation for how he spent his time. He'd even use the horse trailer to haul stolen motorcycles to robbery locations. Peter accumulated so many horses, he estimates that he bought and sold about 100, that he bought a farm in Neura and moved his family there. Several of Peter's thoroughbreds competed on the local racing circuit. As kids, the Morgan twins idolized the Skelton brothers, who were among the best jockeys in New Zealand. Now, as an owner of racehorses, Peter had the opportunity to lift R.J. Skelton into his saddle before a race. "He called me Mr. Morgan," Peter bragged to Doug. However, indirectly, the robberies were earning him power and respect. Peter claims that he hid his crimes from his family. He'd wait until his wife left for work. Pamela managed a hardware company, before washing the stolen banknotes, dunking them in water, shoving them in a stocking, and running them in the clothes dryer to remove any ink stamps the bank had marked them with. Like his father, he also rented a safe house in Essendon, gave the landlady a phony story, and kept a car at the property in case he needed to disappear in a hurry. Doug's son, Michael, told me that his mother once opened the trunk of their car and found it full of cash. "But father was good at lying," Michael said. "He said he'd won it at the races." The Morgan brothers treated their wives with coldness at times, and despite their fraternal competitiveness, they often opted to spend time with each other rather than their families. Doug's wife was saddened by his absence and neglect. Peter's wife finally left, taking their son with her, after Peter returned from a 3-day heist and refused to tell her where he'd been. Peter spent the next day losing $7,000 at the racetrack. When his wife returned with their son and a new toy she'd bought for him, Peter bitterly blamed her for his losses. That toy had cost $7,000, he thought. Still, the Pamelas stuck by their husbands even as their families grew. Doug eventually had a son and a daughter, and Peter had 2 sons. Just as Kay brought the twins along on jobs, Peter sometimes took his 4-year-old to scout potential targets and police stations. One day, the toddler was in the car with his grandparents when he said, "We need to go and look at the cop shop." "Why?" they asked. "Because," the boy said, "Dad always liked to check them out." After the Mirbu North Bank heist, the twins targeted a string of betting agencies. Following one stick-up, in the town of Torquay, Doug was fleeing in the darkness when a local service station owner gave chase. Doug turned and fired his gun, which was loaded with buckshot. He intended it to be a warning shot and had aimed at the ground, but a pellet struck the man's lip. At around 7 p.m., Peter heard about the robbery on the radio and fell into a fury. "The shooting broke my rules," Peter told me. "There was to be no violence." Waiting in his Valiant Charger at the rendezvous point, Peter extended the barrel of his Jaeger .22 rifle through the open window. "I'm going to kill him," Peter thought. The gun was loaded and cocked, with the safety off. He saw Doug walking toward the vehicle in the darkness, finishing what was a 15-mile hike from Torquay. Peter was about to pull the trigger when he thought, "What am I doing?" He put the gun back down on his lap. In the wake of the shooting of the service station owner, police reporter Jeff Wilkinson published a story headlined, "Hunt for 14 Raid TB Thief," portraying the criminal as a potential killer. Wilkinson, who would later write Double Trouble, a book about the twins, with co-author Ross Brundrett, also gave the robber a new nickname based on his propensity for nighttime heists, the After Dark Bandit. I hope you have enjoyed. See you soon.